The only important thing to do is to be in this moment and treasure your magnificence in this moment and truly love yourself and see yourself as connected to everything where there is no time and there is no space. All you have to do is be those things. Just be love and be in this moment, and don't worry about your relationships and don't worry about your health and don't worry about all the things. Just be in this moment. This is what you get. This is the currency of your life right here. And all of the stuff that has happened is because your emphasis, when you read the I Am discourses, you discover that that it's all about putting your attention, your thoughts, your energy on the outer part of your world. But the outer part of your world is an illusion. It's not real. Because it's gone. The second that you start to get a hold of it, it's gone. So the only thing that is real is this invisibleness that is capable of making anything in this physical world happen. Anything. Your own creation. If you can put it into your imagination and live from your imagination and live in that place and just not say, I will be free of this addiction, I will be in a great relationship, I will be thin again. Instead say, I am what I want to be. I am that. Because everything that was once that exists was once imagined. If it's going to exist in the future, you have to be able to imagine it. To make a future wish a present fact, you have to be able to place it into your imagination and live from it. It will ultimately harden into a fact. That's how the universe works. And you are a creator of this universe. You are the creator of your life. You're the creator of anything that you want to place your imagination on. And every bit of, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. If you're watching this or you're listening to this right here in this room and you believe that that's not possible, that I can't walk, which I've been hearing that she can't walk. I can hardly stand to hear that. It doesn't make any difference if she were all crippled up, and I would still say, you can walk. How strong is your imagination? Place it in there and command it. Insist upon it. God doesn't care. Isn't going to be mad at you for doing that. Here's one of the things that you are to follow Jesus' command. Say to your divine self, see here, God, come forth and take care of this. God wants you to set him to work. This releases a flood of the God energy, intelligence, and substance which flows forth to do the command. God is not going to be upset with you, this divine intelligence that we have, because you're insisting that you live your magnificence. That's all God wants us to do, is to love each other. God doesn't need us to love him. God is nothing but love. So it's not a problem for God at all. All you have to do is be in a place where you're willing to say, this is who I am, this is what I insist upon, and you don't do it with arrogance. You don't go on and announce that, excuse me, but I'm God here, and you're not. It's not like that at all. It's like you're just pure, unconditional love and knowing. And it involves one other thing before I move to the next one. It involves being steadfast. One of the things that I really got, and I've been reading slowly again for the third time, my copy of Nikos Kazantzakis' St. Francis. One of the things that I really get from reading Kazantzakis is how steadfast Francesco is. Steadfast, Patanjali put it this way, when you are steadfast in the abstention of thoughts of harm directed towards yourself and others, that all living creatures will cease to feel fear in your presence. I say it over and over again. I know that I've repeated this, I'm repeating this, because it's really relevant here. You have to be steadfast in your abstention. That means abstaining from thoughts of harm directed towards yourself and others.
You are not your wounds. You are not the ache that once hollowed your chest at midnight, not the trembling voice that broke beneath the weight of unspoken words, not the betrayal that split your trust wide open like thunder tearing the sky. You are not the memories that haunt you or the names you were called when the world forgot how to be kind. You are not the pain. You are the awareness of the pain. You are the light that observed it all, silently, eternally. When you were born, you didn't arrive carrying stories of inadequacy. You didn't cry because you were ashamed. You didn't question your worth. You came as pure presence, without labels, without bruises, without wounds. You came from the infinite, dipped in divine essence, kissed by the breath of the eternal. That sacred truth has never left you. It only became buried beneath the rubble of human experience. What if I told you that nothing that has ever happened to you has the power to define you unless you let it? What if your trauma is not your identity, but a teacher that came in disguise? What if the greatest heartbreaks are not there to destroy you, but to awaken the part of you that no longer needs to be validated by anything external? What if your suffering was a seed, and now is the season to let it bloom into wisdom? There is a voice within you that has never been hurt. There is a presence in you that has never been abandoned. There is an essence so whole, so untouched by the illusions of this world, that even your deepest wound cannot reach it. That is who you are. You are the sky. Your pain is the passing weather. The ego wants to replay the hurt, keep the wound alive, make it your name, your badge, your narrative. It will tell you, you are broken, you are unsafe, you are unworthy. But who is this you that hears those words? Who is the one watching those thoughts arise? That is your soul. That is the witness. That is the still, timeless you. And the moment you identify with that eternal presence, you become free. Freedom isn't about changing what happened, it's about changing your relationship to what happened. You can't rewrite the past, but you can choose whether to relive it or release it. Every time you touch a memory and give it permission to pass through you without clinging to it, you heal. Every time you refuse to define yourself by your scars, you reclaim your power. Every time you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? You step into the sacred alchemy of transformation. The wound is not who you are. The wound is where the light entered. There is an old Sufi proverb that says, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And so often we misinterpret this as meaning we must stay wounded to be spiritual. But that is not what the mystics meant. The light enters through the wound, yes, but it does not stop there. It enters so it may heal, and in healing, it reveals to you what has always been whole. You are not your brokenness. You are the light that came to mend it. You see, the universe doesn't make mistakes. There are no accidental souls. You came here with a blueprint, with purpose written into your very cells, and no amount of suffering can erase that. In fact, the pain may be the path that leads you home. The shattered places, they are not your shame. They are your initiation. The philosopher Heraclitus once said, no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he is not the same man. You are not who you were when the pain found you. You have changed, grown, unfolded, and now you are standing on the edge of becoming. Forgive yourself for the ways you coped when you didn't know how to heal. Forgive yourself for clinging to identities rooted in survival. Forgive yourself for believing the lies of the ego when you were too weary to hear the truth of your soul. There is nothing in you that needs to be fixed, only remembered. You are not a project. You are a presence. The spiritual journey is not about becoming something. It is about unbecoming everything that is not truly you. It is the shedding of stories, of wounds, of masks. It is the return to essence, to that silent space within where nothing has ever been broken. Think of a tree that has been struck by lightning, the bark scorched, a branch fallen. But look again in the spring. See the new leaves sprouting, the sap still rising, life continuing its sacred rhythm. The wound is part of its story, yes, but it is not the whole story. And so it is with you. The ego will say, protect yourself. The soul will say, open. The ego will say, you are damaged. The soul will whisper, you are divine. The ego will say, stay in fear. The soul will sing, love anyway. The healing begins not when the pain ends, but when the identification with the pain ends. When you stop saying, this is who I am, and start saying, this is what I experienced, and I am the one who witnessed it all. You are the witness, the awareness, the vast open field of presence in which all things come and go. You are not your wounds. You are the love that survived them. You are not your wounds. You are not what they did to you. You are not what you lost. You are not the rejection, the abandonment, the silence, or the noise. Those were moments, not definitions. Those were storms, not structures. The sacred architecture of your soul remains untouched. You are not here to be defined by the chapters that brought you pain. You are here to realize you are the author, not the page. There is a stillness that lives beneath all things. Beneath the chaos, beneath the sorrow, beneath the name you were given and the roles you perform, there is a holy silence that has never been disturbed. It is the part of you that watched you cry and did not crumble. It is the part of you that walked through fire and still whispered love to the world. That part of you is not your story. It is your soul. It is the eternal you before the world told you who to be. And the truth is, your wounds do not make you weak. They make you wider. They open the heart, stretch the spirit, expand the soul. They are not signs of failure. They are invitations to remember your wholeness. Every time your heart broke, it was not the end. It was a cracking open, a sacred rupture through which something larger could be born. Pain is a holy messenger. It arrives not to punish, but to reveal. It is the finger pointing back to the presence within you that never left, even in the darkest hours. And yet, we resist it. We numb it, we shame it, we bury it beneath the noise of distraction, but pain unacknowledged becomes the prison. Pain embraced becomes the portal. When the Buddha said, life is suffering, he was not cursing existence, he was blessing it with honesty. He was inviting us to stop running, because it is only when we stop running from pain that we can finally meet the presence that transcends it. That presence is you. You are not your wounds. You are the unchanging awareness in which the wound appeared, healed, and dissolved. You are the field, not the storm. You are the light, not the shadow. You are the witness of the wound, not the wound itself. And when you return to this truth, healing begins not as an effort, but as a natural unfolding. Let go of the need to explain why it happened. The mind wants reasons. The soul wants freedom. And freedom comes not from the answer, but from the release. You are allowed to not understand it. You are allowed to not justify it. You are allowed to simply say, this hurt me, and I will no longer carry it. Imagine your soul like a mountain. Wind and rain may erode the surface. Lightning may split the bark of the trees, but the mountain remains. Steady, silent, immovable. That is who you are, beneath it all. You may have been bruised, but you are never broken. You may have fallen, but you have never failed. There are no wasted wounds. Every one of them carves space for more compassion. Every one of them deepened the well of your empathy. And that is the sacred paradox. The very pain that once threatened to shatter you now makes you more whole. The ego clings to pain because it uses it to build identity. It says, this is what happened to me, this is who I am. But the soul is not interested in who you were. The soul is always whispering who you are. Right now, in this breath, in this eternal now, the soul says, you are light, you are enough, you are free. Forgiveness is not condoning, forgiveness is not forgetting, forgiveness is freedom. It is the sacred act of saying, I choose peace over poison. I choose truth over story. I choose to no longer bleed from a wound I did not inflict. That choice is yours. It always has been. Healing is not becoming invincible. It's becoming transparent, letting the light pass through you again, letting love flow again, letting the river of grace wash away the debris of identity until all that remains is presence, naked, real, awake. You are not your wounds. You are the open sky into which the clouds of sorrow have passed. You are the sacred observer, the divine breath behind the grief, the untouched spirit beneath the trauma. That is why nothing you've ever gone through has managed to extinguish you, because you are eternal. And even now, in this moment, with everything you carry, you are whole. You don't need fixing, you need remembering. You need to remember that you came here not to stay safe, but to be free. Not to avoid pain, but to transcend it. Not to live without scars, but to learn that scars do not diminish the soul, they illuminate it. When you begin to see your pain not as the end of your story, but as a sacred sentence in a much larger book, everything changes. Suddenly the tears were necessary. The silence was sacred. The darkness was divine. Because they brought you here to this moment where you can finally say, I am not my wounds. I am not my story. I am not my fear. I am love remembering itself. I am presence awakening to itself. I am spirit, infinite, eternal, whole. And so are you. You are not your wounds. The world may have told you otherwise. It may have pointed at your scars and tried to name them failure. It may have seen your tenderness as weakness, your silence as defeat. But that was the world speaking from its own fear. That was the world forgetting its own light. You must not listen to the echo of unawakened minds. Listen instead to the silence within you that has never forgotten who you truly are. You are not the brokenness. You are the one who survived it. And even more than survival, you are the one who transformed because of it. The caterpillar does not curse the cocoon. It surrenders to the darkness because it knows in some eternal place beyond the mind that the wings are coming. What feels like death is often just the shedding of an old self. What feels like collapse is often the beginning of becoming. Trust this. Pain is not the absence of God. Pain is the voice of your spirit calling you home. Home not to safety, but to surrender. Home not to avoidance, but to awareness. Home to the part of you that remains untouched by all that has ever happened. Rumi said, try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. When you stop resisting your wound, it stops ruling your life. When you stop fighting what hurt you, you begin to uncover what healed you. You are not your wounds. You are the timeless breath behind the pain, the breath that has been with you through every tear, through every disappointment, through every closed door. That breath is God whispering, I never left. You've felt lost, we all have. But how can you ever truly be lost when what you're seeking lives within you? You search for healing, but healing is the return to your own being. Not the self made of memory and fear, but the self made of awareness and light. You are not here to carry your suffering like a badge. You are here to transcend it. You are here to become so deeply rooted in your soul that nothing external can shake the truth of who you are. Do not reduce your vastness to one moment of pain. You are an entire cosmos pretending to be a person, a river of eternity flowing through a temporary form. And yes, this form may bleed, it may ache, but the river flows on, untouched, undisturbed. Let go of the idea that healing must look like perfection. Healing is not linear, it is not clean, it is not always graceful. Sometimes it looks like falling apart, like lying on the floor in surrender, like being cracked open so fully that there is no turning back. And that is the gift, because once you are cracked open, the light inside you has no choice but to shine. You are not your wounds. You are not the childhood you had to survive. You are not the relationship that failed. You are not the words spoken in anger or the silence that followed. You are not the missed opportunity, the diagnosis, the loss. You are not the night you almost gave up. You are the dawn that followed. You are the quiet resilience no one saw. You are the breath that kept going. You are the heart that chose to stay open, even when it would have been easier to close. And that is the miracle. Not that you were never wounded, but that you kept loving anyway. That is the divine in you. You are not what happened. You are how you chose to meet what happened. That is where your power lives, not in rewriting the past, but in reclaiming the present. Not in erasing the pain, but in choosing to no longer let it name you. The soul does not want to keep score. The soul wants to be free. So let go, not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. Release the resentment, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Release the identity built on wounds, not because it was false, but because it is too small for who you are becoming. Release the need to understand everything. Some things are not meant to be understood with the mind, but held with the heart. You are not your wounds. You are the love that was always there. You are the silence beneath the noise. You are the presence that remains when everything else falls away. And so now, in this sacred moment, choose again. Choose not to carry what is not yours. Choose not to replay the story that keeps you small. Choose to remember that you are infinite. Choose to rise. Because every time you rise, not in spite of your pain, but through it, you teach the world what healing really looks like. You become a lighthouse for others still lost in the storm. You become a reminder that love is stronger than fear, that presence is more powerful than pain, that spirit cannot be broken. You are not your wounds. You are the healing. There comes a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when the soul no longer seeks to be defended. It no longer clings to its history or waits for the world to affirm its worth. It simply rests not in the memory of what has been, but in the awareness of what is. And in that sacred pause, where nothing needs to be added and nothing needs to be erased, the truth stands clear. You were never incomplete. This realization does not arrive with trumpets. It doesn't crash through your resistance with force. It arrives like dawn, slowly, gently, turning darkness into light without asking permission. And suddenly, all that once felt unbearable becomes somehow sacred. Not because it was right, but because it led you here to this tenderness, this openness, this reverence for your own becoming. What you once saw as damage is now the doorway to depth. Not a wound to be covered, but a passage into clarity. And from that clarity, a soft knowing rises a knowing that does not need to be proven or shouted. It is the quiet authority of the soul reclaiming its ground, not as a warrior, but as a witness. You begin to understand that healing was never about going back to who you were, but about releasing everything you never truly were. You are not here to perfect your past. You are here to transcend it. You are not here to edit your story so it hurts less. You are here to outgrow the story entirely. To rise from the page as the presence that authored it, not the character caught in its plot. Let yourself feel that. Let yourself remember that who you are is not confined to the body that trembled or the mind that fractured in the face of pain. You are the stillness behind the trembling, the space beyond the thought. You are the witness who watched the heartbreak and the love that stayed even after the pieces fell. You are what survived. Not in spite of the storm, but through it, with it, and ultimately beyond it. The soul does not fear the storm. The soul understands that every gust of wind strips away what was never yours, that every lightning flash illuminates a truth too long hidden, that the thunder is not a warning but a drumbeat calling you home to yourself. And what is left, once the storm has passed, is not emptiness, it is spaciousness. It is peace, not as the absence of conflict, but as the presence of alignment when who you are no longer pretends to be who you were. There is no redemption in reliving the pain, only in releasing it. Not through force, not through effort, but through remembrance. Because what the ego clutches to the need to justify, to defend, to hold on the soul, gently lays down. Not as surrender to defeat, but as surrender to truth. You do not need to prove you are worthy of healing. You are healing. You are the evidence of life moving through what once felt lifeless. You are the echo of divinity reverberating through a form that has forgotten its origin. But even in that forgetting, grace has never left your side. And grace does not keep score. Grace does not ask, "Are you ready?" It simply arrives. It pours itself into your cracks, not to seal them, but to remind you that light travels best through the open. So now, breathe. Breathe not to fill a void, but to return to the rhythm that has always been yours, the breath that does not belong to yesterday or tomorrow, the breath that does not ask what you've endured. It simply is, as you are, unconditioned, untouched, free. In that breath, notice there is no wound, there is no label, there is no shame, there is only presence. And in presence, all things are made whole. You were never meant to carry your story like a shield. You were meant to live beyond it, like a sky that has finally remembered its own vastness. Your pain was never the problem. Your attachment to it was. And now, even that can be met with compassion. Let your suffering rest. It has done what it came to do. It brought you to this edge, this horizon of awakening. Now, your task is not to keep digging into the earth for answers, but to look up, to see the light that has been waiting to rise from the center of your being, a light that does not chase away the dark, but makes peace with it, a light that knows the dark was never its enemy, only its beginning. You are not here to become someone different. You are here to remember who you've always been beneath the forgetting. And what a glorious remembrance it is when the self drops away and only the self remains quiet, infinite, free. And when you stand in that freedom, even your story changes. Not because the facts are erased, but because your relationship to them is no longer one of bondage. You no longer say, "This happened to me." You say, "This moved through me and it awakened me." This is your power. Not in rewriting the events, but in reclaiming your identity. You are not your wounds. You are the one who walks forward anyway, barefoot on sacred ground, each step a prayer, not for answers, but for deeper awareness. You are the one who stopped waiting to be rescued because you finally remembered you are not broken, you are becoming. And becoming is not a straight path. It is a spiral. It brings you back to what you thought you had outgrown, but this time with eyes that see differently, with a heart that no longer braces, with a presence that no longer flinches. That is growth. Not the absence of pain, but the absence of resistance to it. Your liberation is not found in denying what hurt you. Your liberation is found in no longer confusing that pain with who you are. You are not your wounds. You are the ocean that contains them. You are the sky that opens wider than the clouds. You are the still flame in the center of the fire. You are the unshaken witness, the silent depth, the invisible, invincible truth. And this is the beginning of your return. You are not your wounds. You are the sacred pause between stories, the breath that existed before the wound ever touched you. You are the soft voice that whispers, I am still here, even after everything else has gone silent. And that voice, that quiet, unwavering pulse of your being is not fragile. It is not wounded. It is eternal. The pain may have entered through the door of your humanity, but it has never reached the truth of your divinity. And the more you remember this, the less power your suffering holds over you. The wound loses its grip, not because it disappears, but because you no longer place your identity inside it. You become vast, so vast, that the wound itself dissolves into the infinity of your presence. This is not philosophy. This is freedom. It is the sacred moment you stop needing life to rewrite what happened and begin allowing life to reveal who you've become because of it. And not in a hardened way, no, not with armor, but with transparency, with the gentleness of one who has let the fire pass through and who now carries light where the weight used to be. You begin to walk differently. You no longer measure yourself by the reactions of others because you understand that truth does not require validation. You no longer shrink when challenged because you are rooted in something deeper than reaction. You are grounded in awareness. You see, awakening does not mean the storm stops. It means you stop fearing the rain. You let the sky do what it must because you found the shelter that can't be touched, the quiet cathedral within where the soul kneels not in suffering, but in surrender. And that surrender is not a giving up. It is a rising into life as it is, not as it was, not as you wished it to be, but as it is in this moment, whole and holy and completely enough. There is no greater peace than this. To no longer need to be seen through the lens of your pain, to no longer offer your past as an introduction, to no longer explain yourself through the trauma, but to let your presence speak for itself. You are not your wounds. You are the silence that does not seek applause. You are the love that did not shut down when the world forgot how to love. You are the steady flame that has learned how to glow in the absence of fuel. That is your miracle. That is your truth, and it cannot be taken. So now breathe again. Feel that breath as if it is the first. Feel it not as survival, but as a sacred choice. Each inhale a testament that you belong here. Each exhale a release of the weight that was never yours to carry. You do not need to hold on to your suffering to honor it. You honor it by living freely. You honor it by laughing fully. You honor it by loving with your whole being, knowing that you have earned this joy, not in spite of what you've been through, but because you had the courage to return to joy anyway. And now the time for waiting is over. You've waited long enough to be chosen. You've waited long enough to feel whole. You've waited long enough to begin, but you were never waiting for something outside you. You were waiting for your own return. And here you are, not perfect, not fixed, but real, unedited, unapologetic, unbound. You are the evidence that light is stronger than history. You are the embodiment of a soul that refused to stay asleep. You are not your wounds. You are the healing. You are the resurrection. You are the morning after the longest night, quiet, luminous, unshakably alive. And as you walk forward now, know this: nothing real can ever be lost. And nothing unreal was ever truly yours. The love that remains is the love that is you. The peace that remains is the peace that never left. The self that remains is eternal. And it is that self, beyond the scars, beyond the stories, beyond the names the world gave you. It is that self who speaks now, gently, clearly, undeniably. I am not what happened. I am what rose from it. You are not your wounds. You are the sunrise the night could not stop. You are the breath that broke through silence. You are the rebirth written into every cell of your being. You are the echo of divinity carried forward through time, through tears, through transformation. And now You are ready to rise, not as a survivor, not as a name defined by endurance, but as the presence that was never harmed to begin with. Because what you're awakening into is not a version of you that was once broken and is now repaired. That would still make the wound your origin. No, you are awakening into the truth that your essence has never been wounded. Your soul has always been whole. The pain did not create your strength, it revealed it. The loss did not give you depth, it uncovered it. The betrayal did not make you wise, it simply burned away the illusion that you were ever separate from wisdom itself. You are not the consequence of life. You are the cause of your own awakening. The creator, the source, rising back into recognition of itself. You are the soul, remembering that it was never at the mercy of the wound, it was the light observing it all. And so the old identities begin to fall away. The story of I am the abandoned one, gone. The story of I am the one who failed, gone. The story of I am the one they hurt, gone. And in the sacred quiet, beneath those voices, a new truth emerges. Not new because it was created, but new because you finally stopped looking away from it. A truth so simple, so clear, so alive, it feels like coming home. I am not what happened to me. I am what remains. The silence that listens, the love that keeps opening, the stillness that never flinched. And in this space here, now there is no effort required. There is no proving. There is no defense, because the soul has nothing to protect. It simply is. It shines because that is its nature. It loves because that is its breath. It gives because withholding is foreign to its being. When you live from this remembrance, the world changes, not because it stops being chaotic, but because you stop being entangled. You are no longer pulled into the past or hurled into imagined futures. You become presence itself. And presence does not resist life, it embraces it. You begin to see even the ones who hurt you differently. You no longer carry the weight of bitterness. You no longer mistake justice for vengeance. You no longer see your pain as a weapon or your healing as a performance. You begin to love them, not to excuse them, but because you no longer fear them. You see them through the eyes of the soul. And that is the final gift of awakening. Forgiveness, not the kind that demands forgetting, but the kind that no longer requires remembering. You forgive not because they deserve peace, but because you do. Because every ounce of energy you spend on resentment is a breath you steal from your own becoming. Forgiveness is not a release of them. It is a return to you, to the quiet garden of your own being, to the soft river that still flows, to the divine light that never once dimmed. And once you have returned, truly returned, you will find something unexpected. Gratitude, not gratitude for the wound, but gratitude through the wound. You'll see how it brought you to the edge of yourself. You'll see how it burned away every lie. You'll see how it left you with nothing but truth. And in that emptiness, you are finally free. Free to remember what you are. You are not your wounds. You are the sacred stillness that remains when everything else falls away. You are the soul that made it through. You are the presence that has nothing left to fear. You are the truth that cannot be undone. You are the one who knows. Nothing is missing. Nothing is broken. Nothing is lost. All is held. All is known. All is love. So now, let the old stories rest. Let the echoes fade. Let the wound close, not as an ending, but as a birth. The time of contraction is over. Now comes the expansion wide, infinite, true. You are not your wounds. You are the space they pass through. You are the eternity that survived. And now you are free. Truly, wholly, finally free.
Close your eyes and hear this truth. You're not waiting on your desire. Your desire is waiting on you to rise, to elevate, to vibrate at the frequency of what is already yours. The world around you is not fixed. It bends it, molds it, reshapes according to your vibration. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the cause. What you radiate, you attract. If you hold low thoughts, you will see a low world. But when you rise, internally rise, you will see mountains move. Vibration is simply your state of being. You do not manifest through effort, you manifest through alignment. The higher you vibrate, the faster creation flows through you. Joy is a magnet. Gratitude is a portal. Love is a key. These are not emotions, these are frequencies, and the universe responds to frequency, not words. So imagine not lightly, but boldly, with depth, with emotion, with certainty. See yourself already there, already living what you once longed for, not in the future. Now accept it as already done, and your world must obey the moment you feel it real. The unseen goes to work. The invisible becomes visible, but you must not waver. Persist in the assumption, hold the feeling even when appearances lie. Especially when they lie, your job is not to chase or strive. Your job is to become the version of you that already has it. The shift is internal, and when you vibrate higher, manifestation does not take time. It takes acceptance. So today I urge you, stop lowering yourself to match what is fading. Rise to meet what is calling, vibrate higher, and you will manifest faster. Because the moment you become it, it must come to you. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. This is the most misunderstood truth in all of creation. The world around you is nothing more than a mirror, faithfully reflecting back the state. You consistently dwell in people. Believe they must work harder, push more, chase endlessly after what they desire, yet they do not realize that the outer world is secondary. It is the echo. The origin lies within. The secret is not in the doing, but in the being, your inner state. What you feel, assume, and believe to be true about yourself, and life broadcasts a silent frequency. This frequency is your vibration. It is not heard by the ears, but it is registered by reality. The moment you shift your state, the world must shift in response. But because the world seems so solid, so separate, we tend to ignore the invisible cause and blame the visible effect. Desire alone changes nothing. Wanting something, no matter how deeply, does not draw it to you. What draws it to you is becoming the version of yourself who already has it. You must embody the outcome. That is, you must feel the reality of the desire fulfill so deeply that your consciousness cannot distinguish between what is imagined and what is perceived. When you persist in an inner state of lack, you do not move toward your goal. You only deepen the distance. If you feel unworthy, if you feel desperate, if you feel incomplete, those feelings form the vibration you emit in life. Being completely impersonal reflects it back to you in kind. You meet experiences, people, and events that affirm what you are already being inside, but when you deliberately shift inward, something extraordinary happens. When you begin to feel worthy, blessed, and whole. Not because the world gave it to you, but because you decided it. You change your entire vibration. And life, like a loyal servant, must obey. This is why it is said that to him who has more shall be given, because the one who feels abundance attracts abundance. The one who feels love receives love. Not because they seek it, but because they have become it. The inner state is not dependent on conditions, it is the cause of them. You must become quiet enough to recognize what you are vibrating. If you are anxious, pause. If you are worried, observe. If you are bitter, release, and then choose again. Choose deliberately to dwell in peace and faith, in love. The moment you do, you've already moved realities. The world you see may not change instantly, but the blueprint has been altered. Creation is finished. All possibilities exist. Now, the only thing that separates one outcome from another is your alignment with it. And alignment is nothing but sustained vibration. The more consistently you dwell in the inner state of your desire fulfilled, the more quickly it materializes around you. It is not magic, but law. And the law is always working, whether you believe it or not. Do not be fooled by appearances. The world will test your commitment. It will whisper doubt. But stay faithful to your state. Choose to remain in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, no matter what the senses show, because the senses only echo the past. The future is formed in consciousness. Your inner world is the soil. What you water with emotion grows. So stop trying to force the outer world to bend. That is not your task. Your only task is to assume the feeling of your desire is already yours, to vibrate in harmony with it, and to watch calmly, faithfully. As life reshapes to match your new frequency, you are not chasing the dream. The dream is chasing you. Once you become the version of you who already lives it, Emotions are not random. They are not meaningless reactions. Emotions are energy, pure and powerful, flowing through the body like a signal. Like a vibration sent out into the field of creation, they are not simply feelings, they are frequencies. They move, they radiate, they reach out and draw back to you that which matches their essence. This is why emotion is not something to suppress or escape. It is something to understand, to guide, and to use with purpose. Every emotion you experience sends a message to the unseen. When you feel low, when you dwell in fear, anger, shame, or doubt, you are not just having a bad day. You are aligning with the lower frequency reality one that will reflect back to you the very same feeling you are emitting. The outer world mirrors the inner climate. It does not respond to words or desperate affirmations spoken in contradiction to your feelings. It responds to the truth of your emotional state. But what happens when you begin to rise, when you start to cultivate elevated emotions, not as a reaction to circumstances, but as a choice of practice? Everything changes. Gratitude, love, peace, joy, these are not simply pleasant feelings. They are the gateways to higher realities. The moment you feel gratitude, you are telling the universe it is done. I have received. You are no longer begging, no longer waiting. You have become the version of you who lives in the fulfillment of the desire. Love is the purest frequency, not romantic love, but unconditional inner radiant love. Love for life, for being, for self. This emotion raises your vibration faster than logic ever could. It lifts you beyond resistance, beyond fear, and in that high vibration, the reality you once dreamed of begins to feel natural, even inevitable. Oh, that's the key. It must feel natural. The emotion you hold makes it so. Peace, too, is a frequency often overlooked. Peace is powerful. It is not passive. Peace says, I no longer need to struggle. I trust the unfolding, and in that trust that is released, and in that release, manifestation flows faster, clearer, with less effort, because creation does not respond to force. It responds to surrender, to faith, to emotional alignment. Do not manifest by thinking harder. You manifest by feeling deeper. Thought is the blueprint. Emotion is the builder. The more you feel in harmony with your desired reality, the more swiftly it is constructed in your world. You must not wait for the thing to happen to feel good. You must feel good to allow the thing to happen. Imagine the person you wish to become. How do they feel? What emotions fill their day? Start there. Begin to generate those emotions now, even before anything has changed. Because in truth, the inner change is the cause. The outer result is the effect. Emotion moves reality. Emotion is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. When you align emotionally with what you desire, you shorten the distance between you and the out. Time is no longer the barrier vibration is, and when your emotional vibration matches your imagined future, time collapses. The future becomes. Now let this be your practice, not to force manifestations, but to feel your way into them, to choose the highest emotions, even when nothing has changed. To live from the inside out, not the outside in, because when you choose gratitude in the absence of reason, you become magnetic. When you choose joy before the breakthrough, you bring the breakthrough closer. When you choose love before the healing, you activate healing. You are not powerless. You're not stuck. You are a creative force shaping your life with every feeling you sustain. So feel wisely, feel richly. Let emotion be your tool, your guide, your magic. Emotions are energy and emotion in you. By feeling on purpose can move your world. Imagination is not fantasy. It is not mere daydreaming or mental escape. Imagination is the original act of creation. Everything that exists in your life right now began first in the unseen world of thought, shaped by the silent power of imagination. Before anything becomes form, it must first be accepted in consciousness. What you vividly imagine and emotionally accept as true plants the seed of your future experience. The world you see is nothing more than the harvest of what you once imagined and believed. Many believe the world is shaped by action, by effort, by external striving. But those are effects, not causes. The true cause lies deeper. All creation begins in the invisible. The mind is the womb, the inner world, the workshop. It is not what you do for hours that shapes your destiny. It is what you dwell upon in the secret place of your mind. Imagination is not idle. It is active. It is spiritual. It is the divine gift that allows you to rise above circumstance and see the world not as it is, but as it could be. And in that, seeing you make it so. When you imagine something clearly in detail and add to it the feeling of reality, the sensation that it is already yours, you trigger a shift in vibration. And when your vibration changes, the world responds. You do not have to wait for permission. You do not need proof. The outer world always lags behind the inner vision. So many delay their transformation because they are waiting for evidence. But the evidence comes after the seed is sown, and the seed is your imagined scene. It is your vision felt as real, accepted without doubt. Whatever you persist in imagining with faith becomes law in your world. This is why idle worry is danger. When you imagine things going wrong, when you rehearse fears and worst-case scenarios, you are planting seeds to weed only weeds, not flowers. Your imagination does not care whether you use it to build or to destroy, it simply obeys. It receives the command through feeling not well. The secret then is not just to imagine, but to imagine with emotion. You must feel your scene as though it is happening now. You must enter it so completely in your inner world that the outer world becomes. The senses may still reflect the old story, but you remain loyal to the vision, knowing it is only a matter of time before the world reshapes itself to match your inner assumption. Imagination is more than visualization. It is full embodiment. It is hearing the sounds, seeing the colors, feeling the textures of your desired reality. It is holding the end in mind and living from it mentally rather than towards it physically. You assume it is done. You let go of the need to figure out how, and in that surrender, creation begins to move. Think of imagination. As a spiritual blueprint, you are always building something. The question is, are you building consciously or unconsciously? Are you imagining based on past disappointments or based on new intention? The future does not come from what you have known. It comes from what you see and feel in the stillness of your own mind. Do not underestimate this power. The world honors action, but action follows vision. When you imagine rightly inspired, action arises effortlessly. You are led. You are guided, the right people, the right moments. The right doors begin to appear not because you forced them, but because your inner world. Among them, creation is not something you wait for. It is something you initiate. Imagination is the seed. Feeling is the water. Faith is the light. And time is the soil that brings it all together. So imagine, and imagine boldly. Refuse to return to the past. Let your mind dwell only on what is lovely, noble, and true. What you vividly imagine and emotionally accept as real, without doubt, without resistance, must come to pass. It is law. It is your gift. Use it well. The truth of who you are has never changed. It cannot be tarnished, diminished, or lost, only forgotten beneath the noise of the world, beneath fear, doubt, and limitation. There is a core within you that is pure light, pure power, pure knowing. And the closer you come to that truth, the faster your vibration rises. High vibration is not something you earn or chase. It is what you return to. It is your natural state, your original frequency, before you were taught otherwise. From the moment you arrived in this world, the world began to shape you. You were told what was possible, what was practical, what was safe. You were conditioned to believe in lack, in struggle, and separation from your desires. You were trained to slow your energy to blend into a world that forgot its own divinity, but deep within, something never forgot, something always remembered. That spark is your true self, and it is always calling you home. High vibration is the signal of that remembrance. It's what you feel when you are in alignment, when you're no longer resisting the truth of your being. It's the quiet joy that arises when you follow your intuition. It's the peace you feel when you release control. It's the surge of inspiration, of love, of presence. These are not passing emotions. They are echoes of your essence. They are reminders that you are more than flesh, more than history, more than circumstances. The lower vibrations, fear, anger, shame, guilt, are not your enemies, but they are not your home either. There are signals, indicators that you are living in a version of yourself that was handed to you, not chosen by you. There are teachers showing you where you are out of alignment. The pain is not punishment, it is feedback, and the faster you learn to observe it, honor it, and release it, the faster you rise. You do not have to force high vibration. You only have to stop clinging to what keeps you low. You are not meant to carry the burdens of your past. You are not meant to wear masks to please the world. You are not meant to doubt your power, your worth, your beauty. These are illusions taught, reinforced, and repeated until they seemed real. But the truth never left you. It simply waits for your return. The more you align with your authentic self, the one who feels deeply, who speaks truthfully, who dreams without apology, the faster your vibration becomes. And with that speed comes clarity. You begin to see life differently. Opportunities appear, relationships shift, circumstances respond. You don't have to chase outcomes. They begin to move toward you. drawn by the resonance of your truth. To live at a high vibration is to live lightly, not because life is always easy, but because you no longer resist it. You meet each moment with presence, not panic. You trust the unfolding not because you know the details, but because you know who you are. You've stopped identifying with the noise. And you've remembered the stillness beneath it. The fastest way to raise your vibration is to return to what is real: gratitude, compassion, joy, trust. Not because these make you better, but because they reveal who you've always been. You are not trying to become something new. You are peeling away what is false. You are unlearning the illusion and reclaiming the true. So when the world feels heavy, pause, go within, feel the breath. Remember who you are. High vibration is not a destination. It is the frequency of your being. When you stop pretending to be anything less, you are light. You are love. You are limitless. Let everything else fall away. Faith is not a matter of hoping that something might happen. It is the inner certainty that it already has. It is the quiet conviction that defies logic, the stillness that remains even when the senses scream otherwise. Faith is not passive. It is not waiting. It is an active state of inner knowing, a deliberate assumption of the desired outcome as already real, felt deeply and without doubt. It is the invisible substance from which all visible things are shaped. When you feel the wish fulfilled, you are not asking life to bring you something. You are affirming that it already belongs to you. And that feeling is the key. It is not enough to repeat words to visualize an outcome or to recite affirmations like a ritual. These are only shells unless they are filled with emotion. It is the feeling that moves mountains. It is the inner atmosphere that creates the outer change. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you believe, and belief is not just thought. It is embodied emotional truth. To believe with faith means to walk through your day as if the thing were already done. You are no longer looking for signs. You are becoming the sign. You are no longer asking if it's working. You are living from the end, knowing it has already worked. Most people delay their manifestation because they keep waiting for the external world to confirm the internal desire. They look to the mirror and ask it to smile first, but the mirror can only reflect. The moment you believe from within, truly believe without needing proof, the outer must conform. The law cannot be broken. The outer world is not cause, it is effect. It follows your conviction like a shadow. Faith requires that you detach from the how and the when. These are the domains of the intellect, not the imagination. The mind wants a timeline. The soul knows better. It moves in trust. It rests in the unseen. When you live in faith, you are no longer negotiating with reality. You are not hoping. You are dwelling in the feeling of it already being true. And that is enough to feel the wish fulfilled, is to touch the invisible realm and claim it as your own. You close your eyes and see clearly. You feel deeply, fully, without resistance. You allow yourself to be taken over by the mood of the outcome. You rehearse not the problem, but the solution, not the lack, but the abundance. You've become the one who already has it, already lives. It already knows it to be theirs. This is not fantasy, it is creation. You are not escaping reality. You are forming it. Faith is the spiritual substance that calls things unseen into form. You don't need to convince others or even yourself in words. The feeling does the work. It anchors the unseen the moment you feel the wish fulfilled. Manifestation begins not when it arrives, not when it shows up on your doorstep, but in the moment you dwell in it as real. It may take time to appear, but that is no concern of yours. The seed takes time to sprout, but its emergence is certain. Your only job is to remain faithful to the feeling. Stay loyal to the unseen. Do not be shaken by appearances. Do not argue with delay. These are tests of persistence, not evidence of failure. Keep returning to the state of the wish fulfilled. Keep breathing life into your vision with feeling. What you feel consistently becomes fact. That is the quiet power of faith. It does not ask, it declares. It does not hope, it assumes. And in that assumption, life rearranges itself to match your inner truth. Persistence is the key that unlocks the door between the unseen and the seen. It is not enough to assume, once to imagine, once to feel, once the creative power of the inner world is activated by repetition, by sustained belief, unwavering focus, and the refusal to be swayed by appearances. What you assume with consistency becomes the law of your world, for consciousness is the only reality, and assumption is its blueprint. Reassume action, when felt as true, begins to clothe itself in form. But between the assumption and its full manifestation, there is often a gap. And in this gap lies the test. The temptation to doubt, to abandon the vision, to return to the evidence of the senses. Yet it is in that very moment. That persistence must rise to persist in the assumption to remain loyal to the unseen truth, regardless of what the outer world reflects. Back to you, the world is a mirror, not a master. It does not dictate your reality, it reflects it. What you assume to be true inwardly, the world will echo. But it cannot do so instantly in all cases. For time is the cushion that allows the unseen to become seen. Do not be discouraged by the lag. Do not measure your success by how quickly things appear. Measure it by how unwaveringly you can remain faithful to your inner state. Persistence is not struggle. It is not forcing, it is not efforted in fear or desperation. It is calm, focused, dwelling in the end. It is the quiet power of the one who knows, who rests in the inner conviction that what is imagined and accepted must come to pass, even if the outer seems unchanged. You remain unchanged in your assumption. You do not explain, you do not seek reassurance. You simply continue to feel the wish fulfilled. When you persist in your assumption, you are training the subconscious mind, and the subconscious is the servant that never sleeps. It does not argue. It accepts what is impressed upon it with feeling and repetition, and once impressed, it sets the wheels in motion through people, events, and circumstances to bring your assumption into form. But this process cannot complete itself. If you constantly undo the work with doubt or contradiction, to assume something is not to wish for it, but to live from it. You think from the end, not of the end. You move through life as though it were already, so you react as the person who already lives in the desired state. This is persistence. Not in thought alone, but in feeling and identity, in inner know. Thing, you become it before it becomes visible. Do not be fooled by appearances that contradict your assumption. The world often rearranges itself through what looks like chaos or opposition, but if you persist, what seemed like delay or denial will reveal itself as part of the unfolding. The key is not to react to what is, but to remain faithful to what you've chosen within. You must persist even when you feel nothing is happening, even when the world seems to shout the opposite, even when doubt knocks and fear whispers. You return again and again to your chosen state. You rehearse it, you dwell in it, you affirm it, not because you need to convince the world, but because you are commanding it. This is the law. What you assume consistently and unwaveringly must become your experience, not because you are lucky, not because the world has changed, but because you are no longer living from circumstance. You are living from consciousness. And consciousness shapes reality, so persist not with tension, but with faith, not with impatience, but with knowing what you persist in, assuming you inevitably become. When you choose to vibrate higher, you do more than just feel good. You align with the deepest truth of who you are. You no longer face reality you shape. Your imagination becomes your workshop. Your emotions become your compass, and your unwavering faith becomes the bridge between the invisible and the visible. The outer world becomes a reflection, no longer a dictator, and you become the master of your own experience. You do not manifest by effort, but by assumption. You do not wait for proof. You live as though it is already done. Every thought, every feeling, every act of inner persistence is a seed planted in the unseeded, and when watered, with belief, with feeling, with patience, it must grow. Remember, you do not attract what you want, but what you are being, so become it now. Feel it now, assume it. Now let the vibration of your desired reality flow through your inner world, and trust that the outer must follow. This is not hope, it is law. Thank you for listening. May you go forward boldly, vibrating higher, manifesting faster, and living as a creator you were always meant to be.